Maureen Smith here from Tourmaline and Time Quilts. Welcome to my studio, or at least a portion of it. I'm here today to talk to you about fabric mapping. Now this is a relatively new concept to me as well. It was handed down to me by a friend of mine. Thank you, Tammy. So you've got your project all prepared, and maybe you're a fabric washer, maybe you're not a fabric washer. When I deal with batiks, which I deal a lot with, I tend to wash mine first. And the reason being, sometimes they have they're all over dyed to begin with. So sometimes they bleed. So for the project that we're working on right now, which happens to be these 21 absolutely gorgeous purples and yellows for our Forget-Me-Not quilt, what we happen to have, as you can see here, there are some really, really deep purples in here, some bright yellows, some white, and what we did was wash these first. The whites and the yellows didn't bleed much at all. These are the successive washings. Thank you to our lovely color catchers. As you can see, the difference between loads here till the final load where it came out next to clean. Always a good idea if it's catching this much to wash them first. Another thing that we learned in this is that don't throw them in the dryer. Get all the extra dye out in the washing machine, but then do yourself a favor, take them straight to the ironing board. You don't need to throw them in the dryer. It'll just give you more aggravation trying to get the lovely wrinkles out. Did love the experiment. It worked like a charm, thanks to my grandmother's hint. So, 21 different fabrics. I am not going to remember what each one looks like based upon the tags here on the bolts. So, how do we remember what they all look like? Well, make yourself a fabric map. In this case here, what we have here is the fabric map for the quilt along. This lovely little map here has 2 sheets for all 21. What I did is after I washed them and after I dried them, I trimmed them up just to get some of those nasty little edges that happen when you throw them in the washing machine. Even if you clip the edges about 1/4 inch in to minimize the threads, you'll still get some. So when I did that and I trimmed them up, I took a little piece, approximately 3/4 of an inch by 4 inches long. So not a really big piece. It could be just the end of your selvage, you know, that rough edge you don't want to use anyway. What I did is cut one off, and then I stapled them to my sheet here. So I'll give you an example. I had 4 little pieces, as you can see here, 5 little pieces left here, and trying to match those up with what the names are. It's always better to do it sooner than later because you will forget. So I happen to know from memory that this whitish one is snow. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? So I'm just going to put it on here. Put my little fabric tag down there. This is really sophisticated. I staple it, okay? So I've got that one down. This bluish one I happen to know is called Breeze. You know, it makes you think of the summer breeze. So they're really close in color, but what we're gonna do here is staple them together. So these 2 here are Snow and Breeze. As you can see, they're just a shade off from each other. But that's why we're doing this, okay? So that when we're putting it together and we've cut our strips up, we're not going, what color was that again? Okay, this one here, it's a little more mauve, okay? That one I happen to know is Lotus. Can you tell I've dealt with these just a little bit, okay? Now the other thing I happen to do, and for those who are following around on the project that we have, I also put my yardages on these, just because if they're really, really close, you can go, oh wow, that was a wider cut. So there's more than just color you may use to identify these. Now I have these last 2 here, and these last 2 are Paradise and Lilac. Now, you tell me, how close are they? I can tell you because I'm looking right at it. This one's a little more purple than this one. The one that's a little more purple is Lilac. The one that's not quite as purple is Paradise. So what you want to do is literally just take these as you come off, and some of it's process of elimination, but I will try, for those following along in this project, or any project you have, you can always go back to the manufacturer's website, and they have these lovely thumbnails that will give you an idea of what the fabric looks like, and you can download those. They're not necessarily precise. Hoffman has a great catalog. You can even get a color chart from them sometimes to help you out. But in the matter of a few minutes, I was able to put together these lovely maps, which I can now have sitting next to me while I'm sewing, so that I know which color's which when I go to pull it, and I know I'm pulling the right one. So if you haven't thought of trying it before, if you're dealing with a lot of fabrics, 21 is a lot of fabrics, but even 5 or 6, if they're close in color, can be confusing. So especially if you're mapping from one color to another. So say you don't like what the designer put out there. We're not offended, honest. If you don't like what the designer put out there and you're putting your own out, this gives you that map as well as to what you're calling their color. Okay, so fabric maps are an awesome thing. Highly encourage them. Give it a try. Have fun quilting. Bye.